So I just watched Gigguk's first ever anime, Baan, The Boundaries of Adulthood, and wow. Just wow. It feels so surreal for me to even say it, and as well that I got the pleasure of watching it. Baan, the very influential AniTuber, managed to achieve something most people dream of. Being an anime fan for most of your life, consuming and enjoying something that's so special to you, being able to create your own anime while putting your heart and soul into it, it's absolutely incredible. Before I talk about this anime, let's just take that second to fully appreciate how massive of an accomplishment it is to do something of this magnitude. Whatever your thoughts might be, whether positive or negative, we can't deny that this man put every ounce of effort into this passion project. The amount of days, weeks, months even he must have spent on just writing the screenplay, creating something that not only connects with him, but also try and make others connect to as well. I can only imagine the amount of pressure and stress he would have been under. Logically speaking, spending God knows how much money and putting all this time and effort into a project that doesn't have any guarantee of success, let's be honest, most people would either give up on the thought or fold under pressure. But not this man. Gigguk. And if you're thinking just shut up and talk about the anime, you've got to remember that this anime is one of its kind. This is an achievement that, and I can say this confidently, no one ever thought would or ever could happen. Okay, I think I've glazed this man enough. I think it's time I actually talk about the anime. Baan. Going into this, I knew that the overall theme and point of the story was that feeling of coming home. A feeling that almost everyone can relate to, some more than others. You know the feeling, you've either been away for a long time, or if you're somewhat like the creator of the anime himself, then maybe you live overseas. And after a while, you've come home and you feel that rush just overwhelm you. That feeling only coming home could give you. Seeing your relatives, eating their food you've been craving for ages. Almost as if a part of you that you left behind had come back and it makes you feel whole. So, I was very curious as to how this theme was going to be conveyed. And with less than 20 minutes to hammer this home, let me tell you, I was very excited, but also at the same time, I was fucking terrified. I have been a fan of Gigguk for years, and not only that, he's one of my main influences for me even doing YouTube. So while I was excited to see this passion project, I was also horrified that I wouldn't like it. Let's be honest, when you support a creator, the last thing you'd want to do is bash on their work, especially when you know it's something they've poured their heart into. But I can happily and wholeheartedly say that it was brilliant. You see, this isn't your conventional anime. It doesn't have a lot of aspects you'd associate with it, like common tropes or story beats, which is both interesting and dangerous. Simply because when people aren't used to something, they'll usually reject it. This anime doesn't feel like an anime, and I love that. These characters, despite not getting a lot of time to fully get to know them, they feel alive. They feel like normal people despite a lot of them being from another world. That does sound a bit ironic, doesn't it? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Brief summary in case you haven't watched it, and honestly, I really do mean brief because if you're for some reason watching this video and you haven't watched it, then I have no words. Just go watch it. So basically the story follows two characters, Rinrada, Rin for short, definitely not Fate inspired, and Daichi, in their own individual journey into adulthood, specifically in traveling to another world. Now this story takes place in a fictional world where it's normal to just up and move to a completely different world. So that's exactly what happens. You get the different perspectives of the characters trying to live their life, you know, following the normal beats of life. Getting a job, making friends, learning magical creatures' traditions, living outside, gathering food from an unfamiliar forest, you know, the normal stuff. And it all ties together with the overall theme of that feeling of coming home. You see, that's basically all I can say because this film is short. Like extremely short, barely clocking in at 15 minutes of runtime. Yet despite that, I think it does as good of a job as it could have with the amount of time it had. And that is also another reason why it doesn't feel like your usual anime because it simply doesn't have the time. Usually an anime will have a lot of explanations, you'll get a good understanding of a character's motivations and what the world is like, but Baan just doesn't have the time to do that. So a lot of the world building and how a character feels aren't told to you, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. Baan does a really good job of the classic saying, show don't tell, something that a lot of anime fail to do, especially your usual isekai. So it felt like a breath of fresh air not to have everything spoon-fed to me and I could just interpret the things I was seeing and come to my own conclusion. Look, when you have something that's this short, you can't expect intricate levels of world building and extremely deep thought-provoking characters because no matter how good you are at storytelling, you need time to get to those levels. For what Baan was able to achieve in its runtime, whether it comes to world building or storytelling, it did a really fucking good job with the cards it had. Whether intentional or not, I appreciated that the story about people moving to the next stages of life and trying to figure out how to be an adult treated the audience like an adult. Baan trusts that you'll figure things out, and that allows it to skip over all the fluff we're used to and lets us focus on the character's journey. Look, people leave their homes for different reasons. Some might feel like they need to break out of their shell and come into their own. Some might feel like a burden to their loved ones. Whatever the reason, Baan's whole purpose is so simple yet so easy to forget with how people just get too lost in their own life. People are always worrying about the next deadline, paying their bills. What's the plans for the upcoming week? Who am I meeting this week? Do I have any plans with my friends? Shit, I forgot to take that call about my results. I need to go to the bank today. Do I even have time to go to the bank today? Will that mess everything up? Things like that, right? People are always worrying about what they have to do next because that's just adulthood. There are some things you need to do because if you don't, your life is fucked. So I can understand why this simple aspect could so easily be forgotten. What Baan is trying to say is that you can always come home. You don't need to plan it. You don't need to think about it. Just go. They're your family. They're the people who raised you. There is always a place you can go back to when things get too hectic. I think that's a pretty cool message and something I haven't seen in an anime before. Maybe it exists, but I haven't seen it. See, when you have something this unique, it's a challenge to get people on board with it. And I did briefly touch on this before, but the route Baan decided to take was very risky. It didn't tick the boxes a normal anime would tick, and because this is an anime with a whole studio behind it and talented Japanese voice actors, people would go into this thinking they're gonna get what they're used to. The way I see it, most people find the plot to be the most important aspect behind a story because that's the foundation behind everything. And everything else that comes, whether it be world building, characters, that all usually falls into place. But when watching Baan, I could tell that the plot wasn't the most important aspect behind this development. It's clear that first and foremost, its most important aspect is its emotions. It wanted more than anything to elicit a specific emotional response. But how do you do that? How do you make an emotional response more important than the plot? Well, the plot of Baan is very simple. The characters leave their home so they can move on to the next stage of life, and after living in it for a while, they go back home. That usually isn't a plot people would go for. Most people would think a story about a guy whose family was brutally murdered by demon Michael Jackson and now he has to take revenge on him. Or a story about a civilization enclosing themselves in walls because outside there are these giant man-eating humanoid creatures and they have to fight for their freedom. See, these are plots that make people raise their eyebrow and go, wait a minute, show me more of that. So if Baan's selling point is its emotional response and it's not plot, how do you keep people engaged? Well, you do the one and only thing you can do that not even those plots can do. You make it relatable as fuck. People can't relate to a 15-meter tall cannibal eating their family, but they can relate to seeing your family after a bit of time has passed. And when looking at it from that lens, it's only natural that Baan would go in that direction and why it's so unique. But this could also be a double-edged sword because while a lot of people do relate to Baan, a lot of people also don't. So the whole thing rides on the fact that you can relate to this, and if you don't, well, then you'd fall back into what you know. How good is the plot? Is the world interesting and explained? Does it have anything that'll entertain me? So I can understand why people wouldn't like it or think it's anything special. I also loved the voice acting in it. I watched it in both subbed and dubbed and they are phenomenal. I've always been a subbed watcher and they kick it out of the park like they usually do. Dubs, however, are usually a hit or a miss for me. But this dub's really good, man. It's also crazy too finding out who worked on it, especially the fact that Sid Snap, a YouTuber and also Gaunt's wife, voice acted the main character Rin, which blows my fucking mind because I genuinely didn't realize. When watching it, I thought that whoever voice acted Rin was a pretty damn good voice actor. Lo and behold, it was actually the woman with the Tower of Different Age. Actually, we don't need to go there. And Connor did a great job directing it. Watching the dub, you'd think that it was made by people who have years of experience in their field and it's their main job. I've pretty much spoken about what I wanted to talk about with as little spoilers as I can, but for this last section, I want to talk about the things I thought were pretty cool. So last time, if you haven't watched it, then watch it twice. First thing that comes to mind was how they portrayed Daichi and Rin's relationship in the story. I wondered what route they were going to take, and from a broad outside view, going into this, I thought that maybe it'd be some sort of friendship or closer to a romance where they find themselves interwoven into each other's lives. Yeah, I was completely wrong, eh? Having the two stories told simultaneously and then revealing that one actually takes place before the others was definitely not on the list of things I thought was gonna happen. When I saw this, I thought it was a pretty cool twist. It definitely gives Your Name vibes. But yeah, having Daichi actually be a father figure to Rin and how she kind of follows in his footsteps to travel to his world, I thought was pretty sick because you don't find this out until towards the end. And looking back on the story, it makes sense and you're almost punching yourself for not figuring it out sooner. The atmosphere of the worlds with the music felt very immersive. I do know it's heavily inspired by Garn's culture and traditions, but I have almost no knowledge in it and he'd definitely be a way more interesting and experienced person to talk about it, so I'm not going to get into it. I just thought it was pretty cool visuals. Honestly, I hope Garn gets the opportunity to make more anime, because if this is the quality he's bringing out on his own and this is the first thing he's made, just imagine the potential this man has at creating better pieces of anime. It's truly inspiring how much he's accomplished with Baan, and I'm sure it's given a lot of people, including me, the inspiration to work their hardest in achieving their dreams. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you're new to this channel, giving a like would be greatly appreciated and subscribing would mean a lot. This anime lived up to my expectations and I'm so glad I got to watch it and enjoy it. But anyways, that's all I have to say for now. See ya.